Well, it looks like the first Sonic movie selected the continue option. What is up everyone, Movie Way, I'm back again with another review, and this is going to be for the 2022 film Sonic 2, and this is directed by Jeff Fowler and stars Ben Schwartz, James Marsden, Idris Elba and Jim Kerry. This tells the story of Sonic taking on Dr. Robotnik once again, who has now enlisted the help of Knuckles the Enchanter. Now, I've said a few times on the channel that Sonic is the first video game I ever played. It's the reason I love video games today. And Sonic 2 is actually my favourite out the whole franchise. It's in my top 10 games of all time. So when they released that poster of Jim Kerry slamming the number 2 down, mimicking the Mega Drive poster, I just got that little bit more excited. Now, I did like the first movie. I thought it was a ton of fun actually, and this was very much in the same tone. It is very heavily focused on being a kids film, of course, but there's a lot of stuff for adults to enjoy in here too, especially for people like me who may just get that little bit more of a kick out of it, who are just absolutely nostalgic for this shit. As far as the story goes, it does try to be a little bit more interesting than the first film, involving this Chaos Emerald that Robotnik wants to get his hands on to become the most powerful person on planet Earth. But it also introduces a little bit of history of the Emerald with these tribes going to war and stuff, and it just made the plot a little bit more intriguing. It's nothing special or anything story-wise, but I'm just glad that they did what they could with the Sonic source material and didn't change it too much up and drift away from that, kind of like some video game movies have done in the past, the very first Resident Evil film being a prime example. The big difference here though is the introduction of 2 brand new characters, Tails, who has always been Sonic's best buddy in the video games, and Knuckles, who came into the franchise a little bit later on. I was so happy to see these 2 introduced into this Sonic film because it feels like fan service, but fan service done so right. I mean, people who played Sonic know these characters, and the film takes note of that and plonks them right in there. And it was really good for the story as well, because Sonic is kind of alone, he hasn't really got many friends, and Tails shows up as his best bud at just the right time. I mean, they work very well as an animated pair. However, Knuckles was probably the biggest positive of this film for me. He brought a new threat to Sonic, and he really did have to think about it, because he's just this very powerful character who looked awesome. However, I don't think they could have picked a better voice for the role than Idris Elba. Wow, he really got into this. You could tell just by his voice how much he really dug this role, and he just brought so much personality into Knuckles. I thought he was absolutely brilliant in the voice department. But all 3 are voiced really well actually. They're just fun characters, and I especially liked it when they were all on screen together. There's some great scenes in this movie involving, you know, this trio, but I just loved how the colours dashed across the screen. It worked really well. The CGI on all of them, the CGI model is great, and it's just very far and away from that first image of Sonic we got. Now, the third act was a really great part of this movie. It's fully action focused, but there were so many other great scenes. There was a snowboard section of the film, and it just looked great. I mean, I loved that part of the movie. And apparently this had a little bit more of an extra budget than the first film. You can definitely tell where it's gone. I mean, it tries to up the ante in every single way. Like I said, I was a big fan of the games, and I liked the way they give little nods here and there. You know, especially for us adults who used to play it on the Sega Mega Drive. Tails turns up in his infamous plane at one point, and there's also little things like Sonic is underwater at one point, and he has to breathe in this air bubble to survive. The humour surprisingly landed for me as well in a lot of places, but it's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, me and my fiance were laughing our arse off at some of these scenes, but there were other moments where I didn't laugh, but kids in front of me in the audience were just in hysterics. So it definitely works for all age groups. Jim Kerry was such a good character as Dr. Robotnik in the first one, and I'm very pleased to say that he carries it on in the role here once again. he's just such a fun actor, isn't he? I mean, I think he's got this unique personality about him, and only he can seem to pull off this comedy that he does. It's kind of a one-person show, and no one can ever replicate that, in my opinion. And Jim Kerry is absolutely perfect for this movie. There were some human characters though who did grate on me a little bit. Now, James Marsden's character Tom is on vacation here. He's going to a wedding, his sister-in-law's wedding. And this guy takes over his role in the police department, and his humour just wasn't landing for me at all. And speaking of Tom's sister-in-law, she was my least favourite character in the first film. She absolutely hates Tom, and there is never really a full reason given. It kind of feels like lazy writing because Tom is the nicest guy in the world. I mean, why don't you like him? He's like this perfect person. But anyway, his sister-in-law is given lots of screen time here. She just wasn't doing it for me once again. I mean, there's a scene in the film where she is given so much humour to do, and not once did I laugh. It's just really, really trying so hard to make the audience laugh, and it just wasn't working. I mean, even the kids weren't laughing at this. There was a lot of side story going into this, and I just wish they stayed well clear of that. In fact, there was a few scenes here that really weren't doing it for me, especially this dance-off in a bar. I just thought that was a very silly scene. And there's another moment where Sonic's got the house to himself because Tom's gone on vacation with his wife, and he's just kind of messing the house up, and I was like, oh yeah. It's a bit of a bumpy ride. I mean, there's a lot to like here, but there's some scenes that just feel rocky, if you like. I wouldn't say this is better or worse than the first film. I'd just say it's very much on par. If you like the first movie, you're probably going to like this one. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give Sonic 2 a 7 out of 10. Now, Sonic 3 has already been greenlit, and after seeing that post-credit scene, or mid-credit scene if you like, I'm all up for that. I mean, these are just fun movies, aren't they, that you can go in and be entertained by. You don't have to think too much. Okay guys, at the end of these reviews I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, a fun fact for Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is that the coffee shop in this film is actually called Mean Bean Coffee Company, and there was a game on the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis called Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, so it's obviously took inspiration from that. Okay guys, I hope you all enjoyed this review. Please consider subscribing to this channel. I've got a lot more reviews coming, lots more videos, and if you want to comment about Sonic 2, leave it down below and I'll reply to every single one of you, I promise. Take it all easy guys. I'll see you all in the next video.